This past holiday season, my parents were in town and my husband wears an Oura ring. I wear an Apple Watch. We track our sleep and we were comparing our sleep score the next day. Of course, over the holidays, we are not eating like we normally do. We will have some wine. We're going to bed later, like all of the things that really lead up to not having a very good night's sleep. My husband was sharing his numbers that came with his Oura ring. I'm sharing my numbers that came from my Apple Watch. And my dad is just sitting here watching this. Now, you probably don't know my dad, but my dad is like just this really calm, like even-keeled kind of guy who just has the sharpest wit at the right times. But he just has a very steady Eddie attitude. But he's sitting there listening to my husband and I and listening to the recovery score and the sleep score and the restorative sleep and all of the things. And he just went, does it measure obsessiveness? Which is very true. And I was like, okay, but Dad, well said, point taken. Yes, we are a little obsessed about this. This age and stage that we are in kind of has a 1-2 punch with this stuff. Number one, in perimenopause and menopause, we're not sleeping as well. That's just the fact of the matter. A lot of it is hormonal related. Some of it is age and stage related and stress and all of the things that go along with it. The other thing is we are hearing all of these people talk about how important sleep is. And absolutely it is. So please hear me when I say, yes, I do want you focusing on your sleep. However, I believe the shadow side to that is we are also in this supplement era, and companies are really trying to take advantage of our desperate need and desire for sleep if we're not getting it. And so we're like inundated with all of these tips and tricks and hacks and all of that to sleep. I have done a handful of episodes on sleep over the last few years. So in this episode, I wanted to come on with a common sense approach to getting sleep. First, let's start with what we know about quality sleep, because I think the first place we go wrong is just having these unrealistic expectations. Most adults need somewhere between 7 and 9 hours, but that number varies. Some people genuinely feel good on 6, some need closer to 9. And here's an interesting thing worth knowing. A large study out of Cambridge and Fudan University published in Nature Aging found that for adults in midlife and beyond, 7 hours, not 8, was optimal for both cognitive performance and mental health. 7 hours. That means that what my watch tells me I slept, which was 6 hours and 58 minutes last night, actually was pretty good, which is probably why I woke up before my alarm. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the Sleep Research Society also kind of set their floor at 7, not 8. So if you've ever been like fighting, like I got to get this 7 to 9 hours and 7 isn't enough, you might be chasing a target that was never actually yours. Sleep quality matters just as much as quantity. So you are looking for sleep that leaves you feeling reasonably functional, not totally dependent on an afternoon coffee to survive. You want to be able to stay awake during the day and then just fall asleep within a reasonable window at night. And here is something interesting that I read in a very long article that came out in The Atlantic called American Insomnia. And basically it was this concept of like all of the sleep maxing and all the things that we're doing. And some cultures don't even have a word for insomnia. They just sleep into shorter periods. Like it's just not a big deal. Maybe they'll go for 4 hours, they're up for a bit, they go for 4 more, and they don't label it as a problem. I thought that was a really freeing way to think about things as well. If you are constantly up between like 2 and 3:30 or 3 and 4 or something like that, maybe we just need to kind of release this expectation in conjunction with seeing if there's anything that is within our control that we can change. If you're doing all the things, then maybe that's just how it is. The author's point was that maybe broken sleep isn't actually broken. It just might be how you're sleeping right now, which I know goes counter to everything that you're hearing and may even seem antithetical to what I'm offering today, which is the basics, common sense approach to sleeping better. But maybe those can go actually hand in hand. Just something to consider. So that being said, let's talk about just common sense approaches to sleeping better, whether that is quantity and or quality. Number 1, morning light. This is free. It just takes a few minutes. The science behind it is genuinely solid. We're talking about like decades of neuroscience research, not just like this latest wellness trend, even though maybe you're like me and you just heard about it in the last 5 years or so. Basically, within an hour of waking up, get outside without your sunglasses. 15 minutes. What's happening is that sunlight hits your retina. That sends a signal to a part in your brain that is your body's master circadian clock. That signal triggers a cascade of hormones. Cortisol for alertness. Yes, cortisol is helpful. It's not all bad. Serotonin for mood. And because serotonin converts to melatonin later in the day, you're actually setting yourself up for sleepiness that night. So if you can, get outside and get some sunlight in your eyes. And I'm skipping ahead to the end of the day, but if you can get some sunlight in your eyes as the sun is setting, that's great as well, because our body is wired to associate those warm orange and red hues from a sunset with winding down for the day. It means the day is ending and it will start to kick in that melatonin. This episode is coming out right around actually the summer solstice, which means our days are really long. If you happen to be listening in the winter solstice in the middle of December when the days are a lot shorter, then just keep in mind you can do like a UV free light therapy box. I have and use and recommend the Verilux Happy Light. I have no association with that except that I'm an Amazon affiliate, but that is helpful in that it will mimic that early day light. And in fact, going back to tracking things, I do like to try and get about 60 minutes outside during the day, but my watch will pick up that light and it will think that I am outside because it's enough brightness. So that's helpful if getting outside is not really an option to you. So number 1 is light both in the morning and if you can at night, but if you had to choose one, try to get in the morning. Number 2, your bed is for sleep and sex and really not much else beyond that. Having said that, I do read in bed, so I'm not totally following those rules, but if you have that insomnia, whether it is early insomnia or what's called mid insomnia, which is like you're consistently waking up at 3 a.m., it may be worth taking the book, reading on the couch, reading in a chair in a different place, and only coming to bed when you are ready to sleep. This is under the umbrella of CBT-I, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. I had a wonderful guest named Kathleen Saucier on to talk with us and educate us about CBT-I. You can go back and check that episode out. CBT-I is actually a first-line clinical recommendation from the American College of Physicians and sleep medicine organizations worldwide. So there's no medication, there's nothing else. It's just really getting into the mindset behind sleep. Kathleen offers a lot of other suggestions in that episode. So if you want to learn more about it, go back and check out that episode. Number 3, what's the narrative in your head? What do I mean by that? What kind of conversations are you having with yourself? Are you looking at the data from your ring, from your watch, and are you getting anxious because you have not hit that exact number that you're looking for? There's actually a term for this now. It's called orthosomnia. It's anxiety caused by your wearable sleep data. So now, because we have so many people telling us how important sleep is, we're like even more worried when we're awake, and that is not helping matters. It may be that you need to take off the wearables when you go to sleep if it's really starting to stress you out. If you're just using it as a data point and you're like, okay, that's interesting, or, oh, well, that's why that was that way, then that's fine. But if it's causing you a lot of anxiety, maybe it's time to just take that off and focus on a few other things. The other thing in terms of the narrative in your head is what you're saying to yourself. You know, if you tell yourself like, I don't sleep well, I always wake up at 3 a.m., I'm always tired when I wake up, then your brain may be kind of listening and building that pattern. One simple reframe from that CBTI approach is add in the phrase in the past. So in the past, I have struggled with sleep. In the past, even if the past was last night, in the past, I would get up at 3 a.m., but it's starting to retrain your brain of how do you want things to be rather than like fixating on the past or fixating on how you don't want it to be. I'm just going to continue going through some of these practical things. I'll be moving through them relatively quickly because this is that common sense. I'm trying to do a consolidated, like, here you go. So when someone posts something on my neighborhood Facebook group of like, I can't sleep, what can I do? I can say, I did an episode for you. So quickly, or more quickly, going through the practical things. You know, I have a hard time with brevity, but I'll try. Okay. Caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of 4 hours. Some studies say it's up to 10 or 12 hours, which means if you have a cup of Starbucks coffee that has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it at 4 p.m., at 8 p.m., that still has 100 milligrams of coffee. At 12, that still has 50 milligrams of coffee, which is like, about what a soda is. So the coffee that you are having in your afternoon may absolutely still be in your system and keeping you from falling asleep. Number 5, alcohol. Ugh, I know it. Look, I like a glass of wine. I don't have it all that often. Alcohol helps you fall asleep and hurts the quality of what you get. So it will absolutely fragment your sleep, your rest. It reduces your REM sleep, which is that restorative sleep. If you enjoy a glass of wine, if you can, try and have it earlier rather than as a nightcap, and also have some sort of hydrating fluid after. Have water, have peppermint tea or any kind of herbal tea. Even some of these non-alcoholic drinks are great options. I enjoy a hop water after I will have a glass of wine because it just extends that time from the end of the wine to bedtime and can help prevent fragmented sleep. Not always. Number 6, blood sugar. Okay, so we want to have stabilized blood sugar throughout the day. How do you get that? You get that by having protein, carbohydrates, and fat. I don't want to say every time you eat, but as much as you can when you do eat, because you don't want that blood sugar going up and down and up and down. When it crashes overnight, then your cortisol and your adrenaline spike, and that spike wakes you up. So try and eat those balanced meal, carbohydrate, protein, fat. I know I just said those in a different order, but those are what you want to have whenever you eat to keep your blood sugar stabilized. Number 7, magnesium. Okay, so I am a little skeptical of the supplement industry right now. I do believe in magnesium when appropriate. The evidence has gotten stronger, particularly for women in our age and stage, that magnesium can be helpful to sleep. A 2024 randomized controlled trial found that magnesium L-threonate, there's a lot of different types of magnesium, so know what you're looking for, that can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. That improved sleep quality, especially deep and REM sleep in adults 35 to 55. Magnesium glycinate is also popular and generally well tolerated. However, the evidence and research really does its strongest for the L-threonate. Also, don't forget you can get your magnesium through foods. So leafy greens, avocados, nuts, seeds, chia seeds are really high in magnesium. Great places to start and try increasing your magnesium through your food before you do supplements. Number 8, watch your digital devices, your blue light. Blue lights from your screen suppress your melatonin production. Studies show that screen use before bed can delay sleep onset by 30 minutes or more, and it will reduce your REM sleep. So try to get off your phone or your iPad or whatever. If you need, you can do blue light glasses. I read my Kindle before bed, and I will wear blue light glasses with the magnifying. Don't ask me why. I want the magnifying with the Kindle because I know I can make the font bigger with the Kindle, but for whatever reason, this just works really well for me. So I'm doing me. But anyway, try to reduce that blue light as much as you can and take advantage of the settings on your phones as well that will automatically, I know on Apple, it'll automatically make it a bit warmer rather than the blue light when the sun sets. So I don't know that that's like a cure-all to it, but it certainly can't help. Number 9, let's talk about pre-sleep nutrition. When I was younger and fully entrenched in diet culture, I used to try to go to bed a little hungry every night. And what I would say is I want to be able to eat my arm off in the morning and be that hungry. Why? I don't know. For some reason, this is what I thought I needed to do for the body that I was wanting or whatever. I have noticed as I have gotten older, nothing could be worse for my sleep. well, except alcohol. That could be worse for my sleep. Second is going to bed hungry. What this does is it will activate those stress hormones that disrupt sleep. So going to bed hungry is really disruptive to your sleep. The flip side of that is heavy meals really close to your bedtime can also impair your sleep quality. Such a Goldilocks amount is what we need. So basically, if you find that you're getting a little hungry as you go to bed, try to have a small snack. I typically keep deli turkey on hand for this, and I'll just have like even just an ounce or two of the deli turkey. Maybe I'll throw it with some crackers if I want. If you like cheese, you can have that, but just something where it's just a small amount. The turkey also, the bonus is it has tryptophan in it. I've got to give credit where credit is due. I got this idea from Tiffany Giganti, who does the Gut Harmony program, but a little bit of turkey and some crackers, something like that, super helpful before you go to bed. Also nuts, string cheese, anything like that. Just small protein rich snack can absolutely help with stabilizing your blood sugar right before you go to bed. Number 10, hormone therapy considerations. Look, I want to stay in my lane and within my scope of practice, but for appropriate people, then hormone therapy, like getting on your progesterone, estrogen, that can help your sleep. Research indicates that estrogen therapy can improve sleep quality and increase REM sleep percentage. Talk to your doctor about that. I don't feel like it is my place to talk any more about that, but those can absolutely help your sleep. So talk to your physician. Number 11, breathing techniques. One of the reasons, especially if we have that midsomnia where we're waking up in the middle of the night, one of the reasons we can do that is because we are anxious or we wake up and then our brain just turns on and it gets going. The 4-7-8 breathing technique activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And I always remember parasympathetic as please, can I get into the parasympathetic nervous system? Obviously in appropriate times, right? But that can just kind of reduce your anxiety. It can promote relaxation. So that means that you inhale for 4, you hold for 7, and you exhale for 8. So you are exhaling longer than you are inhaling. Research shows that that can reduce your time to fall asleep and it can help with middle of the night waking. So it might be that breathing would be helpful to you. If that's too hard for you to remember, then try the box breathing as well, which is inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So either one of those two. Another one that I don't think we've talked about on the show, but I actually learned from my friend, Tiffany Giganti. Yeah, shout out to Tiffany, is eye movements. We are in a small group of entrepreneurs and we were getting on talking about our business and I was lamenting that I hadn't slept very well that night and my brain wasn't thinking. And she said, hey, I just learned something that's really helpful. She said, if you close your eyes and you make a figure 8 with your eyes, so you can either do like the figure 8, like infinity, like on its side, or figure 8 top to bottom, either one, that can help return to sleep. This specific technique hasn't been like extensively researched, but I'm going to tell you, I do it. It helps me. My mom has said that it really helps her. My husband has said that when he remembers, it does help. So it's something to try. Like it's not going to do any harm. I think the other thing is you have to kind of think about what your eyes are doing. And so it takes your brain off of whatever it is that you might be thinking of and onto something a little more monotonous. So something else to try. Other important parts, number 13, temperature regulation. You want your core body temperature to drop to initiate and maintain sleep. This is hard. This is hard, especially when you're dealing with hot flashes or temperature regulation issues because of hormonal fluctuations. Research says that maintaining a cool bedroom of around 65 to 68 can significantly improve sleep quality. I have a very cold-natured husband. I am very warm-natured. The only time I can get my room that cold is when we're in those transition periods between like fall and winter or winter and spring, and I don't have any heat coming on, but it's not hot enough for the air conditioner. And then the room will be like 68 and it's glorious and I sleep so well. And he complains so much because it gets so cold. So this is a little bit of a sore point at my house, but hopefully for you, you can keep your room a little bit cooler. That does help. I actually had a friend reach out to me this morning about those cooling mattress pads. I say if you want to try for it, if you can afford it, go for it. I had one brand that I enjoyed, and then I washed it per manufacturer's recommendation, and the mattress busted, and then I could not get a hold of customer support, and I lost a significant amount of money on that. So I'm a little gun shy with that. I don't think I would ever buy another one just because that was such a disappointing experience. But if you want to try it, go for it. I mean, the people who have ads for it seem to love it. So, if it's in your budget, those are not inexpensive. Go for it. Number 14, you want to try and maintain a consistent sleep and wake schedule, which means going to bed about the same time and getting up about the same time. I have no problem going to bed at the same time, but my wake up, if left to my natural rhythms, can vary for about 2 hours. It's interesting, earlier this year, I tried shortening that to about an hour, and I noticed that my sleep quality really did improve if I were to believe my watch. But maintaining those regular bedtimes and wake times kind of strengthens those circadian rhythms. Your body starts to know what it is. So even on the weekends, if you can keep that wake time within 30-minute window, ideally, that's not what I did, clearly, that can really help your sleep quality. Number 15, stress management. Nothing stresses people out more than to say you need to work on your stress level. I know this for a fact. However, if you can add like little bits of breathing, and we're going to have a common sense breathing pretty soon, so stay tuned for that if you want some ideas on mindful breathing. But if you can just like put those in throughout the day, that's going to really help with your cortisol management. Again, not all cortisol is bad, but we don't want more than what we need. And that's when that can kind of, be problematic. Number 16, exercise timing and type. So regular exercise improves your sleep quality, but timing matters. What you don't want to do is have a very intense session too close to bed, because those intense sessions, again, can rise the cortisol level, which is not good when we're trying to sleep. And so that can be really tough. Or if you have like a really heavy strength session, first of all, good for you for doing that. But if it's too close to bed and your body hasn't really recovered in the immediate course after that, then that may make sleep a little difficult for you as well. You know your body, you just need to tune into it, but it's something to think about if you are working out later in the evening after work or before bed, and then you can't sleep. It might be worth connecting those dots and seeing if that might be contributing to it. The final thing that I don't want to technically include on the list, but it's kind of included on the list, is melatonin. So melatonin is everywhere. I need not go any further than the supplement aisle of my local grocery store, and there are tons of different varieties of melatonin. When you purchase melatonin, it is supplementing the melatonin that you already produce. So we all produce it, and when we do some of these things that I have mentioned previously, especially the light stuff, that will increase and that will help support your melatonin production. But melatonin is not a sleeping pill. It doesn't put you to sleep. It just signals your body that it's time to sleep. So it's kind of like a timing hormone. It's not a sedative. And the thing is, most supplements and gummies and drops and all of that contain anywhere between like 3 to 10 milligrams, when really your body naturally produces about 0.3 milligrams of melatonin. So even if you are following the directions or just having one gummy or one pill or however it comes of like 5 milligrams, that may be way more than your body needs. So if you are going to take that, to consider getting something like a tincture or somewhere where you have a bit more control, and take the smallest amount possible. What can happen is that does stay in your system, and it can make you really groggy if you take too much, groggy in the next morning. The research suggests that 0.5 milligram to 1 milligram is really all that most adults need. And if you do take it 30 to 60 minutes before bed, not when you wake up at 3 o'clock, because again, it will still be in your system and it will continue to leave you feeling groggy. Also, as you know, with me and supplements, third-party tested, try and get them where they're third-party tested so you know that the contents are actually what they say is in there. And by the way, if you have a young woman in your life who is also kind of complaining about sleep, but she won't listen to you because you're someone who she hears from all the time and she wants a different voice, my book, Your Core Strength, actually has a sleep well approach that has a lot of these listed in there. And so if you just need a different voice for her, that's an audiobook and a paperback available on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, etc. So that's something to check out if you have a young woman in your life who is having some sleep issues as well. And of course, don't forget CBT-I as an option. You can do this with a therapist. You can do this actually with the help of the CBT-I Coach app. It's free. It is put out by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So thank you, veterans, for all you do and for the resources that are developed for you that we can all enjoy as well. CBT-I Coach is super helpful in implementing some of those research-backed ways of promoting better sleep. I also can't help but mention something that a friend of mine said probably 20 years ago. And that was, I have found that if I am lying awake in the middle of the night, that's normally God wanting to tell me something. So I invite you to start praying. If you're awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe start praying and asking God what He's wanting you to know. Maybe you just start praying for all the people in your life. It may be that you fall asleep praying for them. And if so, that's probably okay. But that's another little approach. You can also meditate on God's word. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Maybe that's something you can repeat to yourself over and over, because God did design our body to need rest and to need sleep. And finally, I just want to remind you of this. Do what you can for your sleep. Get your morning light, get your consistent wake times, have a nice calm wind down at night, get your blood sugar balanced, you watch your alcohol late in the evening. These things do work. And then give yourself some grace about the rest. You're going to have a bad night of sleep. This is not a crisis every now and then. Waking up at 3 a.m. does not mean something is broken. Your body, it's doing its best in a season that is genuinely, physically hard on sleep. You're not broken. You're just human. You're navigating a body that's changing. It will get better. Just try to do what you can and release the rest. Sweet dreams. And as I used to tell my kids, night, night, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.